We're live.
Woohoo!
Oh my gosh. Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, Diana. And hi, Mr. Jon Carroll. Woohoo!
Hi, Miss Lisa Hand. Hi, Miss Diana.
Oh,
Hi.
so we're Southerners today.
I hope so.
We're so happy to have you here.
Yes,
doesn't
we are.
Bright, sunny.
It doesn't matter
Right.
where you are. If you're a Southerner and it's Sunday, you're in the South.
You're good. And if you have a banjo ukulele.
That
Excellent.
goes without saying.
Well, here's our song.
All right.
It's the Snarky Songwriters Showcase. We're live at noon with the Snarky Sisters.
We're on time today.
Right here on our Facebook page. With our friends, we will commune because we're communists.
Communists.
Featuring Mr. Jon Carroll and some of his fabulous tunes.
We're living in some tough times. You could say they're times of peril. Domestic affairs are so bad. You might even call them.
No, don't say it.
Well, thank heaven
Carol.
for our libations. Oh, what do you have
Wait.
today, Diana?
I've got a red rocket.
Ooh,
What do you
Mine is-
have?
mine is an afternoon delight.
Mm.
Cheers. Cheers, Jon Carroll. Oh, where were we? Okay, thank heaven for libations and for great songwriters like Jon Carroll.
Oh,
Woo! Yeah! Woo-hoo! We are excited today. We have Mr. Jon Carroll here. Woo!
hey, you guys.
I want to say that Mr. Jon Carroll is perhaps the most glittering jewel in the DC diadem of musicians. He's a
Oh.
superlative unto himself. How's that for an introduction? John is a singer, a songwriter, performer, composer, arranger, producer, and all-around musician. His compositions have been used in films, commercials, dramas, comedies. At the age of 18, he was a founding member of Starland Vocal Band, one of my dad's favorite pop songs, with the band's #1 pop hit, Afternoon Delight. The group was nominated for 5 Grammys, and they even had a TV show about which I'm going to ask John a little bit later. John's songs have been covered by famous artists, including Linda Ronstadt, Tom Jones, and Kenny Rogers, and he's been awarded more than 20 Whammys. That's like the Grammys, only for Washington, D.C., right? Snap, snap, snap. For vocalist, instrumentalist, songwriter, and song of the year. His songs are soulful, clever, and insightful, fun, and totally original, and he's a simply joyful, charming person. Mary Chapin Carpenter calls him a musician's musician. John's latest CD, I think, is Still Live Returns, right? Which was recorded at the Barns of Wolf Trap. And so you can watch videos, buy songs, CDs, and read John's blog on his website, Jon Carroll with 2 R's and 2 L's.org, and buy something today, okay? How are you doing, John?
After that, wouldn't it be great if I just kind of then, things pretty much suck.
What did you say?
Pretty much kind of sucks, No, everything, we're all here. I'm in my music lab here, and you guys are there, and after all of that, Diana, you just made me. I miss DC. I love where we live. It's kind of smaller than DC, and not as many people speeding around. They holler at each other going more slowly in their cars here. But yeah, everything is fine. There is lots to think about, and I'm lucky that I have this space in which to think and turn it into something that stays, and hopefully everything else is in transition, and we can hope that the transition is as profound as it needs to be in a month or so. So
I hope so too. Tell us a little bit about that space, because that's pretty darn impressive.
Well, it is, and when I first walked in, I had a smaller space at another part of the building, and there were some problems with the restaurant neighbor upstairs that involved water and gravity, and and I needed to very quickly, I have projects that go on, other musicians that record and compose will know what I'm talking about. With being in the middle of projects, you really don't know anything other than that until it's over, and you don't want any big changes to happen while you're in the middle of a project, needless to say. So I needed to sort of do a quick switch with space, whatever space was available, and this was available, and they were very nice about making the arrangements for me to be here. And that was a couple of years ago. And here, writ larger, is a former factory in East Hampton, Massachusetts, called Eastworks, and it was once a Stanley Home Products factory. It's located in a row of other former factory buildings in mill buildings next to the mill pond, which is right behind us, and it's really lovely out there. It's western Massachusetts, the Pioneer Valley, which kind of begins, I guess, the top of Connecticut and kind of reaches up into the Berkshires. So it's western Massachusetts. It's about an hour and a half from Boston, and the building of which I speak is altogether 500,000 square feet. So it's a bit like working and living, which we also do here on the 4th floor in the Starship Enterprise or something, but cooler. Well, with more gravity and echo. Yeah.
I bet the echo is great, isn't it?
There are some stairwells that are pretty righteous. Yeah, they're like
Wow.
Really good synthesizable reverb, I would say, if one wanted to model it. It's pretty clean as it goes. But we'll have to. Here,
That
it's
sounds
actually,
great.
in a studio, you need it to be not. So this is carpeted, which is great. This whole space. So my wife and I share this space, and this is sort of the cutting half, the musician half, and the half of this portion on the other side of those pillars there, stanchions, is where audience or discussion groups or bridge groups or mime troops. They can be
You're also
over there,
collecting ballots, right? In a couple weeks.
Yes, we're doing a lot of that.
Good.
Yeah, this is Massachusetts, so we're bluer than blue. Even our Republican governor got pissed off and read somebody the riot act about absentee voting the other day. It was great. Charlie Baker. He said, "Look, there's no evidence. You talk about this like it's a real thing, and it's not. I'm just tired of hearing it." He went after it. That was great. But yeah. So that's
Well, why don't we just ask you to play a
yeah.
song, John?
Mm-hmm. What's that you say?
Let's hear a song.
Uh,
Eh?
Song? Any song? Any song?
Sure, your choice.
That's a song called "Everything Happens to Me," which I never learned, but I learned that much of it in a piano lesson one time. Let's see, what type of song would be a fun song to for starters? Let's see. Okay, how about this one? This is about the domestic situation resembling the social situation, and I think that's about what always will be the case, because you are living with someone, if you're lucky to be partners with somebody, and you came from different places, and this is kind of about that, I guess, coming from different places. I buy the Nolga hide, she's used to leather. She might have thought that I was a go-getter, but nothing satisfies. Look at her roll her eyes. No matter what I provide, she's used to better. My Chevrolet, no mighty Maserati. My credit rating might be kinda spotty. No need to strain to see she's ashamed of me when she's complaining to me and everybody. I'm just a poor man, married to a rich man's daughter. I can't keep her happy like I oughta. She's had it all for free. Looks like it's gonna be another long night. Each hand struggles just to pay the other, while she's running off to call her mother. Tell Daddy pretty please lift him up off his knees and make it alright. What she's about to me means my frustration. We've got 4 mouths to feed, she wants another vacation. She's only known first class, served in a rosy glass. She's gonna smack, no exaggeration. It strikes me dumb, this game and how they play it. Where I come from, folks come right out and say it. All this whispered innuendo gonna get you in the end. So tell me what I'm gonna owe, let me pay it. I'm just a poor man, married to a rich man's daughter. I can't keep her happy like I oughta. She's had it all for free. Looks like it's gonna be another long night. Each day struggles just to pay the other, while she's running off to phone her big brother. Tell Daddy pretty please lift him up off his knees and make it alright. I'm just a poor man, Lord have mercy. Ain't nothing I can do to make that girl smile. Well, I'd buy a Chevy on my credit, ain't enough for you, honey. I'll be beholden to your mama, I'll be beholden to your daddy, till the day I die. Lord have mercy on this poor man, on this poor man. I buy the Nolga hide, she's used to leather. She might have thought that I was a go-getter. Nothing satisfies. Look at her roll her eyes. No matter what I provide, she's used to better. Lord have mercy.
Woohoo!
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
That was
Man,
awesome.
Lisa, how'd you do that? You sound like Madison Square Garden.
Woohoo!
Oh, we can do that actually.
No one talks about, when the COVID thing and these oddball social constructs. I just like today's the last day of the baseball season. And I finally, I don't think I've watched an entire game. I will now it's playoff. Maybe I'll take, it's just such a huge asterisk next to everything, obviously, needless to say. But these weird kind of like piping the crowd noise into, can't really get past that, piping the crowd noise in. Although, I mean, it's something that you can ignore. It's a question of whether it's more noticeable gone than present, right? It's like all these things, whatever makes it the least conspicuous, right? And but then they have, and I guess that's cool, that's fine. I mean, even Bill Maher, you know, what's he like does pipe. I don't know if he's at this point, maybe he's got a small audience in the room with him or something, but it's certainly not as many.
It's weird. Like Colbert. Yeah.
And the cardboard, like the guys are like hitting foul balls and they are home runs and they bounce up and like knock one of those cardboard cutout pictures of a person sitting there like right in the face, and you think, wow, I guess that's something be grateful for, you know. Oh, there's a fan that maybe is still with us somewhere because he might have been looking down at his program or something, and you know that would have been it, because he just knocked his head right off.
Hey, who's your team, John?
Oh, the Nats, you know.
Oh, okay.
Let's go Nats.
All right.
Oh, yeah, no, you know, I love the Nats. I have friends that every time they play, I know when they're playing because I hear, you know, Ken Farron pops up on my phone, or Ronnie Newmeyer, Spencer Hoops, and Chuck Underwood. I gave us away. I'm not going to tell you what we call ourselves, but yeah, we've been following for. That's the one thing, oddly, that I miss as much as anything about where I would be this summer out on tour with Mary Chapin, who has a new, wonderfully lovely album out, and but I probably watch more baseball when I'm away with the MLB app, you know. Yeah. Which is really strange because if you don't have cable, we're a cut the cable family, but we stream that, which unless you're in the market where the game is, because network has it and you can't get it streamed on the MLB app, but on the road it's great because you can follow your home team.
Well, speaking of the home team, a whole bunch of folks are watching that I know you remember from the DC area, but Robbie White, he's watching.
Robbie, yeah. I'll be doing his show October the
11th.
8th.
Oh, I thought it was 11th.
I think it's the 11th.
He'll correct us.
It's the 11th. It's the 11th. But I wanted to say something about that because it's part 2 of an interview with you. Right. And part 1 was 3 hours, a 3-hour interview, and you only got up to 1974.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
It's fun to talk about music. You can go on and on, right?
And just to shout out Ruthie Logston and Susan Guetta, Tommy Wright, let's see, Arch. Oh yes, Arch. Thank you so much for helping us out with sound today, Arch Alencontra. Yeah.
When Arch wants you to put your piano down a tiny bit.
Okay, let me see. I can do that.
Wow. Thank you, Arch.
ESP.
So I want to ask you a question. So when you compose, do you compose from the guitar or do you compose from the piano?
Both.
Okay.
Sometimes neither, you know. It's you know, that's always this aspect to writing that is often asked about, because I don't know, maybe it's a procedural thing that folks maybe would like to know is a procedure. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Writing, and I'm not talking just merely about songwriting because I do other sorts of writing as well. And of course, we, as writers, you read all sorts of other writers, you know, and poets and short story and novelists, and I'm interested probably more in their ethical constructs as to their work, and by and large, it's all the things that make the most sense, which is you don't want any distractions, and the folks that, including myself, and other folks who lament that there's so many distractions they can't clear it away to work on their art, their whatever their art is. Here in this building, we have a lot of visual artists and photographers and writers, and it's the same thing. You have to clear the deck, and sometimes you need help with that. And many a musician will say late at night is a wonderful time because you know the phone's not going to ring, you know your family's not going to be needing you because they're asleep, or however that works in your own life. But I know that a lot of writers take that first few hours of the day, if you can manage to get to and that's it, those first few prior to the work day, the traditional work day beginning. Those are kind of very fertile hours because your brain is just awakened, and so you have this wonderful fresh brain that's also still lingering in the dream world, which is I tend to agree with like Aboriginal cultures who place as much credence and merit on the dream world as the real world, if not more. But that's the thing about writing, is you're in the situation where excuse me, you have to place all those mystical currents that are moving through you onto some sort of a platform template, that's whether it's a poem or whatever it is, a canvas or a song, and have it make sense, have all of the mystical, ethereal information that perhaps you're not even aware of when you're writing it, which is my favorite type of song, actually. It's just I want to work on the song itself, line for line, in which is the line, is this saying what I want it to say? Could it say more? Is there dead wood in the line? Dead wood is okay if it's kind of rhythmic, if it's a groove kind of a thing, that is, words that aren't meaning something, just filling up something musically, and that's totally cool, and live for that too. But the thing that most novelists will say, and film directors too, Sidney Lumet is one of my favorites, and there's a really great documentary about him on one of the platforms. Maybe it's Netflix, or it could be, you could find it. And his movies are wonderful. He made so many movies that were kind of perfect movies, because he approached the craft, and he said, my politics, I don't know. I mean, I know what my politics are, but it comes down to the script and the characters and everything about putting that movie together, and all of the points that I think I want to make. Probably after it's all done, I'll look at it and say, oh, great, but I wasn't thinking about that when I was directing the movie and putting it together. I was merely working on that, David Mamet, same way. And that's a kind of a good rule, I think, probably to answer your question finally.
Yeah.
As writing goes, to David Mamet said, if you're working on the scene, work on the scene. Know what the scene is supposed to mean to the whole story, but you're not building a house with the scene. You're just building a chair in one of the rooms,
Okay.
and concentrate on the chair,
Which Lumet movie is your favorite?
The Verdict.
Oh.
The Verdict, with which
I
was
like
actually
12 Angry Men.
It turns out a David Mamet script directed by Sidney Lumet, and I love The Verdict. I could watch it right now. For the 20.
Don't do that.
Yeah. No. I mean,
Don't do that. How about another song instead of that? And then I've got another
Sure.
serious question for you.
Okay. Let's see.
What you got for us?
Well, let's, I'm going to change up the sound just a wee bit and do not a darker song, but perhaps a more reflective song, I guess. I'm an old man eating dinner somewhere in Wyoming. Got my false teeth working on a microwave medallion. Got the headlines lying right here beside my coffee. Got the storm clouds gathering all around my chimney. I'm pushing back my chair, and I'm lingering at the stair, and I sleep on the sofa more than not in the land that time forgot. In the morning I'm going riding down to St. Francis Chapel. I wanna make it down to the funeral of my not so old friend Hansel. I'm gonna gaze upon him live while I kneel beside that coffin, while the relatives are all gathering. Pray, please, Lord, forgive me. There ain't no one left down here. Why don't I feel you near? Later on, alone at home, I'll have a shot in the land that time forgot. Never wanted no children, and I never took a wife. Now I ask myself, what are you doing the rest of your life? 'Cause what's been honing down my bones now cuts me like a knife. I'm an old man in the morning, the rooster keeps on crowing. I'm fumbling into my dungarees, those weeds gonna keep on growing. Gonna make it up to the mailbox, gonna check to find there's nothing but a pamphlet advertisement for a pizza shop or something. I feel a drop of rain, it's drumming in my brain, and I'm wondering, when's it ever gonna stop? Story about my friend, the old man.
Well, I promised myself I wasn't going to cry.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's good to cry.
It is good to cry. There's a great piece in the New York Times about the Book of Job. And it's really kind of a fascinating piece. It's about loss, needless to say, but anyway, it's worth checking in on that.
Yeah.
You know.
So have you been more creative during the past 6 months, or floating, or you're such an optimist?
Thank you, and it's a great question. I think for everybody, you know, it's like what is the definition of that? You know, I've never been one to believe that there are creative people and not creative people. Although, you know, I think if they're really uncreative people, they're probably on Capitol Hill sitting on the right side of the aisle.
You are totally right.
But I also think that, you know, everyone is creative in their own way. And, you know, it's that old argument, you know, and families do it all the time, you know, oh, he's the talented one, she's the talented one. Where's, you know, it's like, oh, you know, there are countries where there isn't that box that you fill that's musician or performer or show business and all that stuff. Yesterday, there's one article, and I'm not even gonna bring it up, but it was so quickly. All it was one bit of reporting by one guy at Politico, and it turned into this celebrity bashing weird shit so fast. Excuse me, that I realized I hate celebrity culture.
Yeah,
I really do. What's a celebrity in the, you know, folks will tell you, you know, oh, have you met, I did an interview a while back, you know, gee, it must be great meeting some of your musical heroes. And I said, yeah, I guess that's okay. I don't need to meet any of my creative heroes or art, you know, or their art is there, right? So it's like, it's kind of a hoot sometime where it's like, oh yeah, I shared the cab with Phil Collins, you know, whatever. That's fun, I guess. You know what I mean? Working with Rodney Dangerfield, that was fun. That was a good. But the most impressed, or at least the most intrigued and really sort of attentive, you know, adulation, if you will, is the times where you get to meet, I don't know, like Senator Alan Simpson or Al Franken, Bob Schieffer, Diana, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Being in the Washington, being residents in Washington, obviously the news industry is quite there, and the culture, I think, in the city is different because of that. But what a cool thing to be able to do a USO trip. You know, Mary Chapin did a USO trip, and I kind of begged my way onto it the next year and ended up doing like 4 in a row after that. During the Clinton years, and William Cohen, who's a fascinating person, and I'm sorry, I wouldn't, I'd much rather spend 20 minutes with William Cohen than, I don't know, the drummer in the Black Crowes or something, you know? I'm not putting it,
Yep.
I'm not, you know what I'm saying?
No.
Like Madeleine Albright. And these are people, generally, they spend their entire day and waking hours thinking about things. And seeing angles that are, you know, they think, you know, there is a major in college of political science because it's a science, right? And they think in terms, and the good Democrats are, you know, I mentioned William Cohen, who's actually a Republican, you know, he's great, you know, he's a poet. And, you know, I feel bad for those guys right now. You know, because Republicans aren't. This GOP is crooked.
It is.
And you know, I'm sorry, I'll stand on anybody's coffee table and say that. I mean, I don't know what other kind of proof you need to see.
Right.
You know, open your eyes. But Republicans, generally speaking, you know, it's not an either or. It's just the polarity, the divisiveness. You know, and somebody could point out exactly that's what the real forces at work are, and the forces at work are the forces of greed and of avarice and of wealth. And what is wealth to a lot of folks? Wealth is the permission to do anything you effing want. Yeah. And there's very, very wealthy people around the world that want just that. They want to do whatever they want. And the way they're getting there is dividing us, and we're falling for it.
Well, John,
or at least we're, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
One thing
I need to change. There's a thing that popped up on my screen. I'm listening.
Oh, I was going to say that I noticed, you know, in your writing that you are a very deep thinker and that you read a lot. You're very well read. And as I've been kind of following you more, I've been, you know, looking at some of the citations that you make, and it's like, oh, this guy, he's, you know, you've really got a lot going on. You really understand what's happening politically. And then you're also a musician, and those types of personalities don't always go together. You know, right. A lot of my musician friends just cannot deal with the political situation. They checked out entirely, or they become despondent.
Sure.
And then there's some musician, I won't say they're friends, but some people I know who are staunch advocates of of Trump and his regime. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I don't want to turn this into a big political thing.
Okay. No, but like the writing and staying up, that is a tough balance to strike, you know. And I think it goes back to Diana's question about, do you find your are these creative times or not? And it's tough, because to check out, and I totally admire anyone who finds the ability to mind their own life and work locally, and locally might literally be just on your block, you know, and that's fine. That's great, because that is what it's all about, you know. And but it's a tough responsibility right now to be an informed citizen.
It's a
tough responsibility, and the thing that goes hand in hand with that is some, you know, I mean, looking out for democracy is looking out for each other. You know, that was the original idea. Anyway.
Yeah, and maintaining a sense of humor. That was the other part of I've noticed about you. You have a wicked, lovely sense of humor. And you go
off like I just did, and I apologize.
No, don't apologize. Don't apologize.
I'm just thinking about those cardboard cutouts that have the baseball knocking their block right off.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to be when I grow up.
Well, we were busting you on your 7/4 time and the little video. Hey, it isn't easy to sing in 7/4. I guess it's something you have to work on.
Well, you know, you guys mentioned Get Closer, and that's so much fun to talk about, because as that time signature happened, and this was a long time ago, since then it's kind of become a larger thing. I have two new songs on the next record that are 7/4.
Wow.
And in different ways, but the original figure, it really was kind of a takeoff. I think, you know, the Bruce Springsteen song Fire that the Pointer Sisters had, you know, and it was I didn't know it at the time, but I think it was out around that time. And after Bill Danoff was shopping Get Closer around, and And I believe the Pointer Sisters were interested in doing it at the same time, which was interesting. And I don't know if it was them or the record label, but maybe that's what they were hearing, was like, oh, it's kind of similar to that. But I didn't realize it when I just kind of came up with that riff over at Bias. I was over there with Bob Dawson. And Bob hollered out, what's that? And I said, I don't know. It's just, I was walking by the piano going down to say we're working on something, a jingle or something maybe. And I did that. And the reason it ended up being 7/4, I didn't really even realize it was 7/4. I just didn't want to take that extra beat to go. It just, because if the thing that works with 7/4 is as long as you have those quarter notes going, you know, whatever it is on Linda, it's like hitting the cowbell, right? That was, it'll be okay, because it lands. That's how that went. And everybody, you know, it's not that tricky of a thing. When it's just 4 plus 3.
Yeah.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And people say, "Wow, I don't know any other song." I was like, "There's plenty." And there's a bunch of 7/4. They kind of go by. And every time I tried to think of one, I always had trouble going on these safaris. And I finally, last night, I thought of one that isn't Pink Floyd's Money, which is a good one too. But this one was even a bigger hit.
Oh yeah.
The cool thing about Peter Gabriel's Salisbury Hill is that riff is the instrumental turnaround, and that's kind of 3 plus 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But then the verse turns into 4 plus 3. I'm up on Salisbury Hill. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4 plus 3, and then there's also, I think, So he's got those 4/4 bars at the end. It's just kind of a lack of patience time signature is what it is. And but you know, they did a really cool thing. I just saw the video, the live video of that, where he's riding the bike around the stage, and at the end they do that, hey, 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 I'm going home. And all those anticipated long triplets, there's 7 of those too that they fit into the live version. Hey, 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 I'm going home. It's very cool. Peter Gabriel.
I have a question. Do you see a direction? You're working on a new album. When will it come out, and what are some of the themes? And do you see a direction that your songwriting is going into?
Yeah, I don't write kind of this batch. Well, I don't know. This, like I'm not a album. I never had a record deal per se, so I was never expected to do a record every year or two, which I'm not complaining, because I love working with everybody that I work with too, But so when this collection comes out, I'm not even sure how to release it. There's between 15 and 20 songs, and some of them are older, and some are political. One of the 7/4 tunes is that's a tune called "Soldier On," which is sociological, I guess. It's not political. That one's long. I could play a little bit of a new one. That's
Love
also
it.
another 7/4.
Okay.
Is that something that we?
Sure, great.
I'm sorry, I kind of go off. Let me see. I had it at the ready here. So yeah, this was. I figured everything. You guys brought up the seventh thing, and it's like for years now, I'll come the patterns come into my head. I just really like it. It's kind of an odd number, but it works in different ways. This one, this groove of 7, I save all these patterns when they come up to me, but this one actually started as a guitar riff, So anyway, that's a newer one.
Awesome.
Preview of that one. And yeah, I'm thinking about my musician brothers and sisters, and we're all kind of in the same boat, and we're all sort of reaching out over the pipe, and friends of mine who have more of a budget of their own to work on things. I think they're seeing this as sort of a fertile season to cultivate, to do some stuff, and to also help out musicians. The musicians that make their money playing live. I mean, these are the musicians that are out doing sessions sometimes, but basically their bread and butter is playing in clubs. Jazz musicians, they'll play a trio thing for a cocktail hour at a hotel there, then they'll go and they'll play a club, and then they play a wedding the next day, and all that just was. And so that I'm going to be making a play for probably through Patreon, I think, to in the interest of being able to use different musicians instead of, I mean, I'm able to record records on my own and play all the instruments. I don't prefer to do that, but it's been a necessity based on budget, usually. I'd much rather bring in other folks, bring in good engineers, great players, other players that I know near and far and for a long time. And that's kind of how I'd like to finish this record, is to raise some money enough to get it to some other folks to play, make the record really good by using better guitar players than me. Better, you know, I have no problem with how I play the guitar, especially for a song that I wrote, but musicians that are really great musicians, they'll hear all the stuff that belongs there and the signature stuff, and then they bring, you know, you when you're hired for a session, generally speaking, no one's hiring you to come in and read a piece of music and play it the way you play it. They hire you to come in and have with your ideas, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with this record. I have a lot of stuff in the can right now, and I'd like to sort of put a bow on it, but I'd like to, you know, to be able to employ some other folks to help put that bow on it, you know?
Oh, yeah. Can you give us another one of those songs, of the new songs that you've written?
Of the new songs, let's see. Let's see.
Shot me a smile.
That was
way cool.
beautiful. That was beautiful. I just wanted to tell you, John, that every time that I've played with you, you always make it seem so effortless, and you bring a lot of depth and imagination and energy to every show I've ever played with you, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Diana. That's very nice. I feel the same way about you and yours. They're that CBS News Christmas party sure was fun.
That was a lot of fun.
I don't know how many years it's been.
That was a lot of fun, and
it was fun. Seeing
and
all
the
those,
building
and
museum and the press club.
I
those
still
were
have my coffee cup. I'm sorry.
excellent, excellent. I want to ask you one more serious question, and then maybe ask you to play one more song, which was I was reading your blog post about the it was preaching empathy, compassion, and solidarity from Boo Radley's porch.
Anybody looks at those.
I love Boo Radley, and I love that essay. Can you just describe it? I know we don't have much time, but can you just tell me why you wrote that and what you were thinking?
Oh, wow. It seems like every time I talk about it, I think about something else I didn't put in it. But the general gist of the thing, other than the obvious wonderful moment, and that is the crux of that whole story, which was just standing on Boo Radley's porch was enough. And why was it enough? Well, because she was standing where someone else lived and seeing her neighborhood for the first time from that perspective. And I've heard a lot of folks since there's been some really great things and writers on Pete Dominic's show, Stand Up with Pete Dominic, which is a podcast now that you can actually listen to for free. But he's looking for Patreon subscribers, and if you are a subscriber, you can join in these Zoom chats and everything. But one of the things I heard him say is that you can't argue with a perspective, and people argue all the time because they see things obviously through their own lens. And that's fair, because what do you know but what you've experienced? But what I was trying to say a little bit with that essay was that she wouldn't have known that moment was coming unless she left her yard and went on that adventure and allowed Boo Radley to give them their gifts. And Boo Radley, she realized, was not a monster. He was quite a friend,
Yeah.
But we do, we have imaginations. One of the point I was trying to make, excuse me, but the since we were kids, when your parents told you, first of all, we get all of our information from what we ask questions, and they answer us, and they tell us about things that are going to be, and then it comes down to experiences that you've never had, but people tell you what it's going to be like, what this camp is going to be like, what the field trip is going to be like, what the blind date is going to be like, what this guy's or girl's like. And we as humans that are survival oriented, we use our imaginations, and we create these realities that aren't real, because we have to imagine something, we have to anticipate something, even though we really don't see anything directly before us to react to and to prepare for. So it's our way of preparing. So all I was saying with the Boo Radley thing was, it would be lovely if we realized that we can use our imagination with folks. Something as simple as the guy that cuts you off in traffic, instead of saying, asshole, and my wife is very good at this. She'll say, oh, his wife is probably having a baby at the hospital. It's like, you're right. I don't know anything about this guy other than he just blew by me in a hurry, and I think that, it would be great if maybe we could prevail upon this wonderful imagination that we have as a resource to leave our yards and go some other places. Instead of going, ooh, they eat bugs, and it's like, no, Yeah, because they've done that ever since they've been there. Other cultures that and right now, if the biggest deficit that I see that you can fill with just learning some history, and I think I'm old now, so when I was young, I didn't want to read history. I hated history in high school. I wanted to do music all the time, but then when you start learning history, you start reading history, you start having people turn you on to books, and you realize, you look back to the Eisenhower era and the Dulles brothers and what they did, and what wheels were put in motion way back with our foreign policy, way back when, way back to where? 1940. How long ago was that?
Yeah.
80 years. To the beginning of the founding of our country. How long ago was that? A mere, 8 generations at most. It's not a long time compared to some other countries that we like to look at as being somehow beneath us or other than us or worse off than us. No, they've been around a lot longer than us, and they've been through this shit, and they came back from it. Just use so a little information kind of sparks an imagination in a good way, because you give somebody a little bit of the benefit of the doubt.
And so that humanity that you keep bringing forth in your music, I watched, you had a music video of your song Right By You.
Oh, yeah.
That was so lovely.
Thank you. That's a kind of a secular gospel tune.
Is it possible for you to do it, or I'm throwing it at you?
It's possible for me to do it and mess it up.
Oh, well, you can end on whatever song you want to do, but I just wanted to point out that anybody listening should just go to YouTube and check that out.
That's very sweet of you to point out. God, I'm so blown away. You guys have actually checked into stuff that has been humbly placed up there, because it's the only place to place them. But that's all the videos and stuff are at the website joncarroll.org, which you spelled out. And since we're talking about, we haven't really played the guitar much. Right By You is up there, and that song actually got finished. A buddy of mine that was playing in Mary Chapin's band the last few years we were out, Johnny Duke. So funny, we had John Jennings, and then Duke Levine joined the band, and then another guy came in and replaced Duke Levine, and his name was John. And then I was always like John 1, John 2, and then there's Dukes, and there's John, and then there was John Doyle, and finally the last guitar player in the most recent band's named Johnny Duke. But I would play those changes of Right By You at sound checks, and he would say, "Man, I really like that. Is that a song?" And I go, "Oh, no, but I'll make it." So I want to thank Johnny Duke for getting me to finish that. But yeah, it's about anyway. Folks can listen to it with a full band, and it's actually very live. The vocal and the piano playing and the vocal is live on the video that's at the website. But since we were talking about Boo Radley, thanks for reading that piece, Diana. And thanks for having me on the show today. And thanks whoever's out there watching and wincing or smiling or crying or being pissed off at me. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, I'm stepping up to the plate. Strike one. I can't remember what I had to do today. Right on. I think I'll make an iced tea and ponder something in it for me. I wonder on the front porch, nobody knows I'm a little down. On the front porch, sit counting the cars heading into town. 'Cause it's a catbird seat by the side of the road. Gonna wave to people I might never know. And let the sun shine on my feet on the front porch. She had to know absolutely where she stood with me. Yeah. I told her that she's getting everything that's good for free. Yeah. She jumped right out of her chair and she hollered, "Come on, Daddy, play fair and give me $10 on the front porch. Nobody knows you're little down. On the front porch, sit counting the cars heading into town. 'Cause it's a catbird seat on the side of the road. Wave to people you might never know and let the sun shine on your feet on the front porch." Here we go. Think I'll make an iced tea and ponder, is something in it for me? Ooh, I wonder. On the front porch, nobody knows I'm a little down. On the front porch, sit counting the cars heading into town. 'Cause it's a catbird seat on the side of the road. I'm gonna wave to people I might never know. Let the sun shine on my feet on the front porch. 'Cause it's a catbird seat by the side of the road. I'll wave goodbye to people I might never know. And let the sun shine on my feet on the front porch. Thanks, Diana and Lisa. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, John. Thank you. That was really wonderful, wonderful. Everyone who's watching, please share this. It's going to be archived on our page. And John, I didn't get to ask you about the Starland Vocal Band show. And will you come back sometime?
Sure.
Please.
Sure. You can find it. You can find it. It was kind of a combination of the Partridge Family and H.R. Puffin stuff. Going for that sort of thing. It's waiting for you.
Plus David Letterman in some early routines or gags, as he calls them, right?
Yeah. He was a writer, Jeff Altman, and all the people that we didn't know were going to be writing the show.
Well, thank you for coming. It was great. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Watch it on the archive, share it. Thank you, Jon Carroll.
Thank you, John.
Peace be with you.
My pleasure. Thank you.